enrolled into therapy currently. The first session is actually tomorrow, and my main goals are going to be tackling these stress levels. So what I did bring my stress levels down by a lot. That's the only, well, that's the, I don't want to say the only good thing it did, but that's the main good thing that it did. Um, but I need to resolve the rest of them through therapy and not take this catharsis public and cause so much damage in the process. So I'm going to spend a few months in therapy and then return to the community with an apology for my actions and let them know that I've improved myself. I have no doubt. I have no doubt about the fact that I'll improve myself. I've already learned a lot from this.
Now, some people have pointed out that there wasn't necessarily a direct apology on Twitter, but you did make a apology statement on your Discord, in the box Discord. I mean, how much regret is there especially with the first video? How much regret is there?
Full regret. It's the biggest mistake of my life. Like, I've had bigger setbacks in my life. The biggest setback in my life was when I fucked up my hands, because obviously
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously that requires years to come back from, but that wasn't a deliberate mistake. This is a deliberate mistake. Like, this was a mistake in terms of planning, in terms of execution. All I needed to do, like I said, was object to the metagame documentary revision, and that would have taken 5 minutes, and then I wouldn't be here. Instead, I basically tanked.
I agree.
Instead, I basically tanked a lot of what I've worked for, and I pissed a lot of people off in the process. And I'm so sad about it because I'm actually the longest standing Melee player left, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've been playing, well, you know, not counting people like you, I'm counting like active top players, you know? I totally forgot you're an OG too.
Yeah. I'm a lot older than you, man. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, again, I want to be very clear, so other people, if and when I post this, you clearly have regret about this issue, and you realize that obviously the first video, which you've taken down, has caused a lot of problems. Like, you're aware, like, fully of the issue at hand, right?
Oh yeah.
In terms of the issues with the first video, especially with your ban statement, and again, the interview is going a little bit differently than I expected, because from what I seen online, it didn't seem like you had any remorse with it. It seemed like in a lot of the discussion on Twitter, the discourse, it seemed like you were just like, doubling down on everything. Do you feel like that perception's unfair, or what's really the case right now?
Well, I think undeniably, I think every single person can agree that the first video was presented like shit. But as time has gone on, I've begun to consider that this wasn't appropriate in general, and that it could have been handled in a much more concise and less destructive manner.
Right.
So I'm starting to realize, I mean, you see, when you're in that cathartic, high-stressed state, you're not seeing things properly. Like, the caption of the first video was, "This video decides the entire fate of the Melee community." That's just so exaggerated. But you see, that's the mindset that I was in, where it's like, I need to save my psychological health. And so from my perspective, the video decides a lot. But to everyone else, it's like, that's so overly dramatic. So now that some time has passed and I've been able to survey the playing field, I know that this wasn't really appropriate from the start.
I see.
And so I'm sorry to the community for handling things this way.
We discussed a little bit before I started recording about the stress and the mental health that caused you to have that catharsis, the issues the reasons why you felt like you had to upload that video. Can you explain that one more time about your mental state? Because from your words, you were one of the last people being interviewed about Evidence.zip 1. Can you explain your mental health then and how your mental health is now?
So mental health, like, there's a difference between mental health and psychological health, because mental health implies that, like, you're mentally ill, whereas psychological health is more like stress. I don't consider the two to be the same.
I see.
And so I'm the last person in Melee who testified for the first Evidence.zip, and back when I testified for that, it's because Leffen was kind of like a bully to me when I was a teenager, and it really stressed me out. I think it hit me during my developmental years,
Hmm.
and so I testified against that. And then as time went on, what didn't help was the way that Evidence.zip kind of got covered up. It kind of got turned into more of like a myth rather than something that actually happened.
Yeah.
And I watched as like all the other people who testified for it quit. And so then I was left as the only one left with no one to relate to on the subject.
Mm.
And it created like a psychological prison where things like the chillin' rap would kind of trigger me and increase my stress. And it was like there was like a psychological divide between me and everybody else.
Mm.
And I started to allude to stress problems in 2015 because of it. Like none of this helped me move past my issues, of course. And so I started to allude to like sleep issues and whatnot in 2015. And those weren't sleep issues directly. Like sleep issues are usually a symptom of something else.
Mm.
Those sleep issues were a symptom of high stress. And so years, more and more time went by, and then I just exploded, and I regret it. I completely regret it.
There were rumors, and again, that's why I'm asking you. There were rumors that you were just playing so much Melee, you were trying to, work really hard. Do you feel like your sleep issues were video game related, or is it a combination of other things? Is it directly because of Leffen? Like, since you brought it up, what do you think actually caused those sleep issues?
Um, I think it was large, like I said, I think it was largely the way that I had no one left to relate to on this subject, and the way
Mm-hmm.
the community was structured was so that so many things were designed to trigger me.
Mm.
Like the TSM and Red Bull documentaries, for example, from 2015, 2016, began the process of making it seem as though Evidence.zip was some kind of cool comeback story. And that doesn't help the guy who had legitimate issues during his teenage years because of this recover.
Mm.
And so a lot, as the years went by, I kept bottling up my emotions, and I never wanted to speak out, and I never wanted to speak out because I didn't want to ruin the fun for anyone. Like I didn't want to tell people that certain lines in the Chillin' rap, like the Chillin' diss track, bothered me. So stress just continued to build, and I always feared that something would cause me to discharge it in a bad way. That's
Mm.
like if you ever saw like interactions between me and Leffen on Twitter, they would always seem as though I was stressed.
Yeah, I
Like
agree. Yeah.
over the years, like every interaction between me and him, it they reeked of stress from my end.
Hmm.
And so, unfortunately, when it finally came time for me to discharge that tension, it wasn't coherent and it wasn't appropriate. It just could have been done in a million better ways.
When you say you were among the last people to testify and you didn't have a really good system to communicate to, didn't you have other top players to talk to? Weren't there any other like people in your life that you wanted to like just like hash this out with? Like you didn't have anyone you could just get a drink with? Like what did no one want to talk to you about this, or was it just like so deep seated it was too hard to talk about with other people?
Well, it's kind of like you f- you feel like you either shift the whole culture or you don't solve the problem at all. Like
Mm.
like talking to one person from the community, it's like you can talk to them about it, and then what are they going to do? They're not going to go to other people and be like, hey, Hax said that we can't joke about Evidence.zip anymore. It doesn't really accomplish much.
I see.
So it puts me in a tough position where I kind of just have to accept the way things are. That's kind of the conclusion that I've come to, is like in life you're not always going to get along with everyone that you work with,
Hmm.
but it's not worth fucking things up this much. Like what I really should have just done is gone to a therapist, and I should have said, hey, there's this guy I work with who I don't I don't get along with. We
Hmm.
have our differences, and then come to a resolution with the therapist about how, well, he's here to stay, and so you're gonna have to accept that. Don't like publicly embarrass yourself by having a catharsis.
Right, right. Mentally, how are you right now? Like psychologically or mentally, how are you right now?
I'm in a much better place. See, that's the one thing that I got out of this is that a catharsis a catharsis is the classic trade-off of saving your psychological health in exchange for ruining your social life. Like like there was this guy who had a catharsis once. I'm not going to name him, of course, because I know this is something he would never want to talk about, but he went to like a high school that was near mine and or not near mine, but one that my high school would interact with. And he one day went into Times Square and literally walked up this flight of stairs and started yelling at the top of his lungs. And
What?
police had to arrest,
Are you serious?
like,
Oh wow.
yeah, and police had to arrest him. And he had to, like, this was viral. This was viral. It happened like
Oh wow.
5 years ago, maybe. And in retrospect, I know what happened to him. He because he was like a perfectly sane guy, like similar to me. No one externally would have ever guessed that I was having these types of problems.
Hmm.
And then he suddenly did that, and I can only imagine that he was internally going through something similar to me.
Do you feel like you have more stress before the video or after? I mean, I know that you're in a better place now, but were you under
Before,
more stress before the video or after it?
before,
Before.
yeah,
Wow. So
yeah, no, no,
and you're
no,
referring to the metagame doc when that was part of the triggering process, right?
yeah, yeah, no, no, no. Like this video, this stuff that I did, it released a lot of stress. It
Mm.
absolutely released a lot of stress. It helped my health, but was it worth the socioeconomic loss? Hell no. Like I could have released my stress in better ways because now socioeconomically I'm
Yeah,
tanked
yeah,
compared to before.
yeah.
Like in life you got health and then you've got socioeconomics and uh the trade-off wasn't worth it.
Mm. People were really concerned after their first video. You know, they were really disturbed by it, and I want to get into the ban in a moment. But for the people, and again, I'm doing this video because I had questions, and I wanted to clarify a bunch of things, and just see how you were doing in the current situation. For the fans and the people in the community who were really bothered by the first video, by the whole situation in general, what would you say to them? Let's say they were like a fan, or let's say they're just a community member. What would you want to say to them in the current situation that you're in now?
First and foremost, that I'm sorry. I easily view this as the worst planned, worst executed move of my life because I'm always I've always been a guy to put the community ahead of myself, and this time I put myself ahead of the community.
Hmm.
Like tried to I basically went Rambo, and I could have just handled this with a professional in private
Hmm.
without like ruining the fun for other people, because I feel
Mm.
like people were happy with the status quo, and then what I did really shook up the status quo in a way that didn't didn't benefit anyone really except for myself. Or
Mm.
it wasn't designed to benefit anyone except for myself.
Mm. Mm. Do you have a circle of friends, either in Smash or maybe with your company or just like in life that you feel comfortable with, just like sharing these things with, or who are, like I think were there people helping you with the video at all? Like is there a group or was it entirely on you when you made the video?
It was entirely on me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's part of the problem is that now every PR move, like every notable PR move that I make
Hmm.
is going to be way more carefully planned out. Because if
Hmm.
I'd shown that video to even one of my close friends, they easily would have told me not to do it.
Right. Right. Hmm. I want to get to your ban statement, and I have the doc open here.
Yeah.
This has been dissected like really strangely, and there are a lot of TOs, including one in Asia, that did sign the document at the end. Now, I did see your video with your appeal statement. Now, that one is a little bit different than what is actually outlined here. My take on the ban for you, and I've said this again to multiple people in different situations. I don't feel like you should be banned, and I didn't like your first video. On the other hand, I feel like you're being banned because you made the first video. How do you view your ban right now?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I basically view it as though the ban is because people don't like me right now. I basically view it as like a bad PR ban
Mm-hmm.
because if you actually dissect the ban statement, everything in it, or practically everything in it, can be disproven.
Right, right.
Um, because ultimately, even if people didn't want to hear them, a lot of the facts that I stated were true. So if it really comes down to it, I can dissect the ban statement and explain why it feels like it's being written to get rid of someone who like rustled feathers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think at this point, like I've already dissected it publicly. I kind of know what's going on here. I really need to just fix my PR. I need to apologize to the community. I need to start contributing again. And I think that'll get me unbanned. Because I think right now it's just like people don't like me, people don't want to see me. And so that's why I got banned. Because like I said and like you said, I don't think I should be banned.
I want to clarify. I mean, for the ban statement, the issue to me is that they're basically concluding, and they're using some really like coded language almost. They're saying that there's so many unfalsifiable claims that like
Oh no, dude. They don't know what that word means.
yeah.
Or
So
honestly,
I'm like this ban statement, and it's been dissected on Twitter like so many times. It's like basically from the language that they're saying, and I think I'm understanding it. I've read it several times. They're basically saying that Hax is saying stuff that either can't be proven or it's just an idea that's in like either some type of opinion, and that it's baseless or whatever that type of like language is. And so either way, whatever facts that he's saying can't lead to this. And I don't understand how that leads to your ban because first of all, I've asked. I don't think anyone in our Smash community. I've been around. I looked through the ban list database. I don't think there's anyone in our scene who's ever been banned for a YouTube video for making one. So maybe you know one. Maybe I don't. Insanely, it's basically defamation though. That's the weird thing to me is that they're basically saying it's quote unquote defamation, and it's like just what you said, and you took down the video. So for me, I feel conflicted about it because, yes, I didn't like the video. I didn't like the first video at all. And yet, I don't think you should be banned. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the way that they were using the phrase unfalsifiable is illegitimate because that's implying that I can't make any inferences about Leffin's intentions without them being defamatory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's preposterous because if you look at some of the situations where they claim that I'm making an unfalsifiable claim, Leffin objectively was acting maliciously. Like when he contacted my engineer who lived nearby to sabotage our GameCube controller project, and I make the assertion that he's acting maliciously there, I'm obviously correct. It's beyond any reasonable doubt when you look at the surrounding actions. I mean, he was spreading all sorts of lies and propaganda about the box and other projects that I was working on. So then me making the assertion that him contacting my engineer was malicious is obviously reasonable. But the ban statement uses lines of logic that go, well, this is an unfalsifiable assertion, and therefore Hax is defaming Leffin, and therefore Hax is banned. It would never hold up. Like, no jury would ever buy into it.
Mm-hmm. Now, hold on, though. I want to push back a little bit. If you feel like Leffin was actually trying to, like, harm you, in those situations, because I had only heard about the box when he had gotten one and he was like comparing the Frame One box and the Smash box. So I had heard about that. But in terms of that particular story, why didn't you explain that story when it happened? Why not talk about it then? Because that was probably around 2017, right?
Oh, I 100% should have. Like, in general, I think a lot of my problem in handling this was that, you know how this video was basically like an info dump of a lot of different things that Leffenhead did. I think it would have been better for me to just intervene as they were actually happening. Like, rather than dropping this huge dramatic piece, I think I should have spoken out in 2017, or I should have spoken out in 2018 when he was going after Hungrybox, or I should have spoken out in 2020 when I knew he gave a false testimony on his Me Too video, or I should have spoken out again in 2020 when he pressured Samox to revise metagame. These things all would have worked better just as individual short call-outs, whether it be one tweet or one 5-minute YouTube video, rather than this hugely dramatic expose.
Yeah, the timing was really shocking to a lot of people. And honestly, like everything that dated back from 2013 with the first Evidence.zip video, because you referenced those, I questioned why you didn't. That's one of the questions why, like, it seemed like you were building it up and you were trying to, hold it in. But I also feel like you should have released it when it, like, in a timely manner, and that would have helped your case a lot more.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that's another good. See, there are some benefits to what I did. Like now, the first one that I mentioned is that my stress is in a much better place. But another one is that Leffen is definitely on a leash now. Like, this type of stuff, it's been called out. So he's not going to be as successful in getting away with it in the future. And if this type of stuff happens again in the future, you can bet that I'll call it out and that I've shown the basis for why it should be called out.
Okay, but now let's toe a fair line though. When you mean call out though, you want to do it in like an appropriate way. You're not going to do it the way that you did with the first video.
Yeah, like the first video was fueled with so much emotion, so much pent up tension, years and years of tension. Now going forward, all of that's been discharged. So if I see something out of line, there's just going to be a short call out. And as there will be from another community member or leader who sees some crappy stuff from him, there's never going to be another catharsis.
Okay. Some people are concerned that Hax is his own worst enemy, that he's too obsessed with this particular issue. Do you feel the same and that you need to work on yourself better and you're learning? Or do you feel like, look, you clearly have opinions on Leffen's like status in the community. You clearly have problems with Leffen as a person. What should the community expect, from you in that regard?
I think before these videos, I would have agreed with them. After these videos, they don't have anything to worry about. I've basically discharged my tension, or at least the vast majority of it. I think therapy will help me get past the rest, and from here on out, I don't really have anything left to say unless something huge from Leffen happens in the future that I disapprove of. Then I'll intervene for the sake of the community. But there's never going to be anything like this, and I'm mostly just focused on my own future now.
Okay. Now let's get back to the ban for a second. The other part that very few people have mentioned, and it's like in one line with the ban statement, you guys are in 2 different continents. Like, no one's really thinking that you're a physical risk at any of these tournaments that they're banning you from.
Dude, he made that up. Leffen made that up.
Yeah, so like, what's going on there? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're on 2 different continents, and honestly, you don't have a history of physically abusing people. And I've mentioned this before. You already have had, like, no one's been banned because of a YouTube video. Yes, I agree that you've been controversial. I'm going to say that loud and clear. I believe that the first video was controversial. There's a few other instances, But the notion that you are going to be a physical like threat to Leffen, like people are just sweeping that under the rug. I don't agree with that particular part. And again, I do think your video was controversial, but I don't think you're a threat to Leffen either. Physically.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not. That's something that he made up. So this is something that Leffen does, and this was documented after the first Evidence.zip, is he basically spins as many lies as possible in order to evade allegations. So, like, if you hit him with an allegation, he'll say he fears for his safety, and that's a deflection mechanism.
He did tweet that. Yeah, he did tweet that, yeah.
Yeah, that's a deflection mechanism. It quickly makes it so that the other party is the one being scrutinized rather than Leffen. He knows how to make it so that the spotlight is never on him. He'll flip it so that the spotlight is on the accuser, and that's part of what makes him dangerous to approach with any type of allegation, because no matter how many times, like, it doesn't matter if I'm telling you this in this interview, he could rinse and repeat the same strategy and it will work. Like, it will work on way too many people for me telling you this within this interview to matter.
I see.
And, you know, at this point, it comes down to sheer numbers, right? Like, if you hit him with allegations and he just uses a deflection mechanism, which most people don't do, but he does, it will work. Thousands of people will fall for it. I was never a physical threat to Leffen or anybody, but that idea got planted in people's minds and it got written into the ban statement entirely because he made that tweet.
I see. I want to read a part of the ban statement to you, and I want to see your reaction to it. It says, to this point, Hax has refused to recant and instead doubled down. Almost every meaningful statement he has made about Leffen, despite having ample time and opportunity to address the many issues people have raised. He maintains that his only mistakes have been tactical errors rather than the content and goals of his campaign, as he refers to it. Hax's behavior does not constitute a mistake or lapse in judgment. His actions were intentional. What do you say to that? What do you say to that particular paragraph?
Okay, so all the allegations were factual, but as I've told you, I've changed my perspective, and I think this wasn't handled in the right way. I think I should have just gone to a therapist. And that would have been that. Like, I do think by far and away, the way the first video was presented was the biggest issue. But if it comes down to it, the allegations were true. So that's why I maintained that stance up until a certain point. But now looking back at it, I would have rather just gone to a therapist and handled it with them.
Did you talk to these TOs directly? Because I know one of the TOs on the list a little bit. He's in Asia, but did they even talk to you? Like how did
some of them?
Okay.
I've talked to some of them, yeah.
And what was what was the conversation like?
Well, I should probably be careful about like.
Yeah, you don't have to reveal specific details, but just like the tone of the conversation. Did you feel like they were just like really mad at you? Like you might be friends with some of these guys. Like were they just trying to straight up tell you that you were wrong? Like what was the conversation like? How did it feel?
I think I should decline to answer because
okay.
You know, I can't say I just can't say anything that could remotely be construed as disrespectful toward TOs.
That's fair.
That are determining my fate, right? You know, like I got to be careful about that part.
Yeah. Do you think this ban's gonna be like 2 to 2.5 years long? That's what it sounds like. The level 2 offense and level 3 offense. Do you really think this is gonna be 2.5 years?
Bro, that would be fucking crazy. That's insane to me. Like, I don't think anything along those lines is warranted, and I hope that other people agree with me when I eventually come back from these therapy appointments. I need to let people know what happened here, but I mean, I want to be back by early 2022. The fact that we're even talking years is fucking insane.
It's a bit excessive, in my opinion. I'm speaking for myself. I don't think you should be banned. Like that's just.
No, I don't think I should be banned either. but I'm like trying to strike a compromise with people who I guess are, talking in terms of years. I think that's
That's yeah, yeah.
preposterous.
Like
Right?
I'm kind of sensing that you're like, okay, I don't think I should be banned, but like I'm willing to play the game to an extent and compromise and be banned for a certain amount and then come back. 2.5 years seems really excessive.
Well, my career is over if they ban me for anything along those lines. Like, honestly, the way I see it is, like, let's say Genesis 8 happens in January and I'm not able to attend that.
Hmm.
Well, that kind of tanks my 2022 season, right?
Hmm.
Like, I haven't been able to play a full season as a top player in a long ass time. I
Mm.
thought 2020 was going to be it
You're
because
making strides then. Yeah, you're making moves.
I was finally a top player again on the box. It took me years just to do that. If you think about it, prior to 2020, the last time I'd played a full season as a top player was 2014,
Oh wow,
and
wow.
and then I had to retire because of hand issues and whatnot.
Hmm.
And then I don't consider any of the years prior to 2020 as me being a top player because I was relearning the game.
Right,
So
right.
then 2020 rolls around and it's like, all right, it's finally time. I get fourth at Genesis, and then COVID hits, and then COVID
Right,
takes my
right.
career.
That screwed everything up, right? That just screwed everything up. Yeah.
Like now, COVID takes my career away,
Mm.
and so it's like, all right, we're back to square one again, and then COVID finally starts to wrap up, and then I drop Evidence.zip too,
Mm.
and now here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I've got nothing but regret. Like, I was so ready to go into tournaments like Summit 11, guns blazing,
Hmm.
and then I just did this to myself. It's just such a huge mistake. But now that we're talking ban durations, I've got to prove to the community that this should be kept to an absolute minimum.
Right, right. So I want to get to your playing career in a moment, and I had some people ask me about like just improving in melee. But so the final thing that I want to say in terms of this ban, this particular situation is, and again, you've expressed regret. I don't think you should be banned, and I don't think Leffen should be banned. Now that's
I
my
agree.
personal thought. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think back when I wasn't seeing clearly, I felt that he should be banned, but now I think, like I said, my goal was really just to get certain truths out there. And from there, no one needs to be banned. It's just I kind of needed to speak my piece.
Mm,
I
mm.
could have spoken my piece in a much more concise way. Like, really, I should have just objected to the metagame revision.
That makes
It's
sense.
it's it's
That makes
the,
sense.
it's
Yeah.
the evidence.zip thing that's been pissing me off for
Mm,
all these years.
I
But
see.
now we're stuck with what we've got.